done and what you've done and what's important to you. So remember this and bring all your kids, 10, 12, whatever you've got. Before we let you get started, we have a little bit of a gift for you. Oh my God, they tied it on so hard I'll never get it apart. Oh, how'd you guys do this? Yeah, I'll just flip it over, I guess, yeah. Yeah, okay. Come look. This is the Conrad Hilton Distinguished Entrepreneur Award, which I hope some of you guys will get someday. You better. You better. If I can read it to you very quickly, it says, celebrating entrepreneurial excellence, exceptional achievement, and powerful leadership, presented to Gary Valenzuela, Master Corporate Entrepreneur. As the Executive Vice President, first CEO, and one of the first few people at Yahoo, Gary Valenzuela was a key player in developing this incredible company into one of the Cinderella stories of the world. He helped to craft this company into a major player in business and communications, led it through its IPO, which provided it with the financial strength to become a billion-dollar operation with a capitalization of $90 billion. Those numbers are rather large. Lots of zeros. Lots of them. We salute him and honor him as a corporate entrepreneur who created the future. He caused our wonderful dream of what the future might be to become the reality of today. He believed that it could be done, and he made it happen. And that's 95% of the game. You got to believe you can do it. I give you Gary Valenzuela. Thank you. We'll give you that later. As I always say, we're going to put that up here where I would like some of you guys to come and touch this and realize someday one of these can be yours. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Well, first I want to say thank you and for the award. They even got the picture, and pretty decent picture, I guess. But I appreciate that. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate the university inviting me down, and appreciate the opportunity to actually come here and tell you the Yahoo story. And appreciate you all coming here tonight. You could have gone to Monday Night Football. That was not an easy pass. But I appreciate you passing on Monday Night Football, but hopefully we'll get you out of here in time for the halftime and all that, anybody who's into watching football. So I'm going to spend some time, and I've got a number of things I want to talk about. So I do have some notes, just a few pages. So I promise I'll get through this, but I think it's going to be very interesting in terms of you as seniors looking ahead of your career and what you have in front of you. These are exciting times. This is an amazing, amazing period that you are facing in front of you. And so I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about that up front, and then I'm going to kind of get things going with a little discussion about Yahoo and speak about some, we'll actually make it interactive and talk about some Yahoo trivia and encourage you to kind of answer some questions that I have and see how much you really know about Yahoo. And then I'm going to talk about Yahoo, how we started, the Yahoo story, and what it was like to be there in that incredibly exciting period. Then I'll back down a little bit and talk about how I position myself for Yahoo. The final part, I really want you to kind of lean forward in your seat and pay attention to, because I've gone through my career and identified 10 success factors, my secrets to success. Those points in my career where I can pinpoint and say, this was a real turning point in my career. And I think they're universal. You can use those as you think about your career and really view those as hopefully some factors that you'll think about in using as you're thinking about planning your career. So, first of all, let's talk about the environment that we're in right now. The web is really about 10 years old. Yahoo started in about 1995. Right now, we are still in the very early stages of the web. And I know a lot of people are talking about Web 2.0. How many people have heard of Web 2.0? Okay, Web 2.0 is real. So I want you to think about Web 2.0. What is it? It's the next generation of the World Wide Web. It's the next generation of how companies are going to use the web. And it's really, I think, an amazing era. And if you think all the Yahoo opportunities are gone out there, you are absolutely wrong. Maybe not quite as big as Yahoo opportunities are out there anymore, but certainly there are a lot of wonderful opportunities. So think about what I'm saying tonight. Think about the environment you're in. This is an amazing period as you graduate from LMU to put your skills to work and think about how you can start your Yahoo or put your experience to work and really think about that future ahead of you, because Web 2.0, which I think is all about really empowering consumers through the power of the web, is here today. So let me kind of get through the Yahoo part, and we'll come back and talk about all the factors that you can put to work to make your Yahoo opportunity a reality. So, okay, back up a little bit. Let's talk a little bit. Let's have a little fun. Relax. Everybody's got these serious looks on their face. And let's do a little Yahoo trivia. Some of this is probably going to surprise you. And that's okay. That's good, because I want you to think and use this as a way to think about what's possible. And also kind of interesting. So I'd really like some feedback on this. And first of all, who knows what the original name for Yahoo was? Any ideas? Any guesses? Yahoo was not the first name that, nobody? The original name for Yahoo was Jerry and David's Guide to the World Wide Web. Now, you know, that probably wouldn't have gone over too well. And so anyway, so again, entrepreneurs quickly thinking about, okay, this is a consumer company. We need a name that's going to be catchy. The exclamation point at the end of Yahoo, that wasn't by accident. Again, thinking about the consumer and something catchy. Any idea? I'm sure some of you know this. Have to know it. So I want some feedback. How old were Jerry and David when they started Yahoo? Anybody?
21, 22?
That's close, actually. They're just a few years older than you, basically. They're 26 and 28. Jerry was 26. And just think about it. Just a few years older than you today, most of you in the audience, and they started Yahoo. Now, this is a very, very interesting question. Why did Jerry and David start Yahoo? Any ideas on that one? Okay. Well, this is the crux of I think how Yahoo was so true and was so successful. They started Yahoo out of a need that they saw in terms of just tracking the websites. So again, they didn't start Yahoo to be a multi-billion-dollar company. Not at all. They thought it would just be cool to keep track of some websites, and their friends started using their directory of websites, and it really grew just exponentially. And again, it was solving a problem. So as you're thinking about a business, thinking about doing your own thing, and I see business plans all the time, I'm like, what problem are you solving? A lot of entrepreneurs are like, well, I don't know, but you know, it's a cool product. I'm like, if you're not solving a product for me, you probably don't have a viable product. So a couple other things, I'll get through this very quickly. Any idea on Yahoo Mail? I mean, how many people use Yahoo Mail? Come on. I mean, Yahoo Mail, I was there early in the Yahoo experience when we decided to acquire Yahoo Mail. And any idea the original name for Yahoo Mail? It's a small company called Rocket Mail. And we bought it for the huge price of $120 million. Now, that was a bargain in that era. And now it's enormous. Probably 400 million people around the world use Yahoo Mail. It's enormous. Final question, of course it's got to be a financial one. Any rough idea, now the IPO, the stock was priced at $13 per share. Any rough idea of what, if you would have held one share at the IPO, what that would be worth today? Any guesses?
$34 a share, I think, as of yesterday.
No, I know, but if you take the IPO price and you account for all the splits, what it would be worth today, and you're right, it's trading at about 38 actually. It's, anyway, one share, if you would have held one share at the IPO, it'd be worth $2,200 today. So if you would have bought 500 shares and just held on to it, you'd have $1 million worth of stock. So anyway, it gives you a sense of the power of Yahoo and how it's just grown immensely. So enough about the Yahoo trivia. Let me go on to talk about my experience with Yahoo. It's been about 10 years since the first time I met Jerry and David. And when I first went to meet them, they were in this little, hole in the wall. They had about 12 employees. And, think about it, 1995, most of you were probably about 10, 11 years old. How many of you remember Yahoo at 10, 11 years old? Probably not many of you. Anyway, even at that point in time, it was still very early. And it was not a slam dunk that Yahoo was going to be the big winner. But when I met Jerry and David and I saw their passion for what they were doing, I just had a sense that this was going to be big and potentially make some money. I definitely underestimated that part of it. And when I joined, I actually ended up joining in early 1996. I joined as the company's 25th employee. Now, if you follow Yahoo today, you know that they're, I think, around 10,000, basically crossing about the 10,000 employee mark. And so, incredible growth. When I joined, Yahoo had just started selling ads and hadn't even booked more than a couple $100s of revenue. So starting at a company that early as a chief financial officer, tremendous amount of work to do. But one of the first things I focused on was getting great people. I spent a lot of time bringing on board really good people, and I assembled an amazing team, financial organization. As a chief financial officer, you've got a lot of responsibility beyond just finance. By the way, how many people here are accounting majors? Got some accounting majors, so you can relate. It's a great career. And so as a CFO, you're also responsible. I was responsible for facilities. I was responsible for legal, human resources, a lot of different areas, of course, all the finance areas of tax and accounting and you name it, budgeting. Anyway, we set in place, got the people on board, and then very, very quickly starting and putting in place infrastructure, putting in place a discipline to run the business and really prepare the company for the growth. And it took a lot of work. Let me give you an example. A typical week, 70 to 80 hours, a lot of work. Christine and Brandon can attest to the fact that they didn't see Dad very much at all. I wasn't home very often. But there was an energy, tremendous energy in the company. And you felt it, and you knew something big was happening. You didn't know how big, but you knew something big was happening. Anyway, within 6 months, we took the company public. The IPO was highly anticipated. We went on the road show for 3 weeks and raised a couple $100 million. And it was an amazing experience of going on the road show. A couple of the challenges, think again, 1996, one of the biggest questions investors had, how do you make money? Yahoo is free for use. So we had to explain to people that this was advertising supported. And finally, they got it. They understood that. But just to give you a sense of how much excitement there was with this offering, spent 3 weeks, talked to some of the top money managers in the country, presentations all the way from Cleveland to New York to San Francisco. By the end of the 3 weeks, we had orders for 150 million shares of Yahoo, and we only sold 2.6 million shares. So there was a lot of anticipation. We ended up pricing the stock at 13, and actually, based on the initial valuation, that only valued the company at 300 million. By the end of the first day of trading, the company shot to $1 billion in valuation. So beyond IPO, it was a tremendous amount of work in terms of now building the service. And some of the things that we focused on was building Yahoo globally. I was there when we started Yahoo Japan. Actually, it's in Japan it's called Yahoo. Yahoo Japan. They don't quite say Yahoo. But anyway, and then Yahoo Europe, I was there for building Yahoo Europe, and we put together some pretty interesting structures. But again, we absolutely were relentless about building the customer base and building it. And we knew we had to go global. We knew we had to go big. And when we first started out, we probably had 5 million users. On total Yahoo right now, it's probably over 400 million users worldwide. Every country you can imagine, Yahoo's in now. One of the things I did, even after the IPO, was to build in really strong operating discipline. So all you business majors out there, it's true, you have to manage the business. And think about it, this was 97, 98, when there was a tremendous amount of hype. I don't know how many of you recall the Amazon was out there, and I remember hearing about this little book company. Jeff Bezos was starting this little book company. We thought, it's a little interesting. But they were focused on raising, revenue generating, but losing a lot of money. And they were kind of proud of it. It was kind of in an era where people were saying, hey, this is a different business model. You can invest as much as you can, make as much top line, and don't worry about the bottom line. Anybody remember that period? I bet Fred does. I bet the Dean does, absolutely. There was that era. People were like questioning, there are new rules for running a business now. You don't necessarily need to be profitable. You make it up on the top line. Well, again, getting back to the operating discipline and running the business, it's one of the things that, again, sticking to our convictions, we ran Yahoo profitable every quarter from our IPO all the way through. So we ran it profitable, and we also ran it with very much of an eye to conservatism. And throughout this whole period, also think about, this is the same kind of environment where you had the WorldComs, where you had the Enrons blowing up, the Tycos, even AOL. Yahoo, if you go back and you study Yahoo, Yahoo did not ever have any issues with the SEC, and it's because of the way we ran the business. So you take care of running the business, keep the discipline in place, and it does make a difference. Anyway, I spent about 5 years at Yahoo. I'm not going to go through all of it. In the interest of time, I want to kind of get through this and give you all a chance to ask some questions. But it was an amazing period. I hope each of you get a chance to latch on to a growth company and think about what's possible. But after 5 years, first of all, I was pretty tired. It was a tremendous amount of work. And by that point, I'd already been into my career over 20 years. But I had really achieved all of my professional and my personal objectives. And at 43, I decided to retire. And haven't quite stayed retired, but anyway, it did give me a chance to spend more time with my family, get reacquainted with my kids and my family, and pursue other interests. So, it's in a nutshell, I'm leaving a lot out, but gives you a sense of just the tremendous period at Yahoo and how you might think about, as you think about growing a business, the operating discipline required. But that's the Yahoo story. As far as my background, I'll get into that a little bit. I don't want to take too much time. I want to make sure we do have time for questions. But needless to say, when I was in your position as a senior in college, I bet you're better positioned than I was, because I truly had no money. I absolutely had no money. I came from a very low-income family, the oldest of 6 kids, and I had worked since I was 9 years old. But one thing I had, and I suspect a lot of you out there do have, and I hope you do, I know my daughter and my son have it, that fire in the gut, that drive to succeed. It's you either have it or you don't. And that fire in the gut is absolutely one of the things that I've always had and I've always used to my benefit in my career. But anyway, I worked my way through college. I worked full-time. I went to school full-time. I positioned myself through an internship I'd gotten in college to go into public accounting, and I went through public accounting and positioned myself from public accounting to get into companies in Silicon Valley that were in technology. I worked at companies like Wise Technology in the middle 80s, terminal manufacturer. I was part of their IPO. So Yahoo was not my first initial public offering. Yahoo was my third initial public offering. Worked at Pyramid Technology. It was a larger company that was already public, but I did a number of financings, and I really had to do a lot with Wall Street. That's a whole nother discussion, how to deal with Wall Street. I'll save that for another presentation. And anyway, throughout my career, with this focus, with this drive, with this energy, and really just arming myself as best I could in the financial community, I was fortunate enough to go to a company called TGV Software. I left a bigger company to go to this company, and I took the company public. It was a small company. I had to commute an hour and a half to this company, and by doing this, by taking the company public, we eventually got acquired by Cisco, and that's what led to the opportunity to go to Yahoo. It was about the same period, end of '95, that Yahoo was just getting going, and they were looking for a CFO, and I was at the point of selling TGV Software to Cisco. So through that experience, through a VC connection we had in common with Cisco, I was able to go to the Yahoo opportunity and connect with Jerry and David, and you know the rest of the story. So that's a very quick kind of overview of my career. But let me get to what I think all of you, I'd really encourage you to think about all these. I'm going to talk about what I've kind of focused on in terms of my 10 success factors. What are the 10 turning points in my career? So think about these, and I'll kind of highlight each one of them with some real life experience. Number one is think big. And you know, I see this all the time. And can you all still hear me? Okay, so I don't need the mic, I can just talk. Kind of get out of that, okay? So think big. And I see this, I've seen this when I've hired people out of Harvard or Stanford. I was out of a lowly San Jose State University, but think big. So when too many people put a cap on their ability, too many people think, gee, it would be nice to, make $100,000 a year. It'd be nice to be, a senior accounting manager. Think big. Do not artificially limit your ability. Very, very key. Too many people sell themselves short. So I really want you to think about that. I thought about it. And as I was, actually it's kind of a funny situation. I was in public accounting, KPMG, and I'd met a number of CFOs, and I thought, these guys are turkeys. I mean, if they're CFOs, I can be a CFO. And I'm like, why limit myself? Why not just try to do my best and achieve as much as I can? And it's a mindset. Think big, and you very well will do big. Second factor is always have goals. And I'm sure you've heard this through all your classes, and I don't want to lecture about this, but it's very important. Write down your goals, update your goals. You need to have a game plan. You need to have a path and stick to it. It's very, very key, and it'll make a huge difference. And be relentless, by the way. Be relentless about going after your goals. Third point is, as you're thinking about your career, do something to differentiate yourself. One of the things that I recall is, again, a turning point. I was in my sophomore year at San Jose State. And again, struggling, working at some machine shop, just finding some way to pay the tuition bill. And a professor, was actually a part-time instructor, mentioned he might have an opening for junior accountants. I hounded the guy for 6 months. I said, I am your man, hire me. I'm it. He's like, maybe. I hounded him for 6 months. Finally, I think he just got so annoyed with me, he hired me. He did. He's like, best thing for me to do is hire you. I joined a company. I was, by that point, just starting my junior year. I was a payroll clerk. But you know what? It didn't matter. I had a foot in the door in the accounting profession. Because I knew, I already had it in my mind that I wanted to go to a CPA firm. And I knew I needed to differentiate myself somehow. By the time I graduated, I had 2 years of accounting experience. So I'm interviewing with the big 8 at that point. They've shrunk a little bit. Big 4 now, I guess. But it made all the difference in the world. So whatever you're doing, find some way to differentiate yourself. All of you can do it. It doesn't have to be just in accounting. There are things you're doing. Absolutely. Differentiate yourself. It'll make a difference. It absolutely made the difference. That, getting into public accounting, allowed me to go on to be a CPA, allowed me to go on to position myself to go to take companies public, so on and so forth. Number 4, switching gears here a little bit, but don't be afraid to take risks. Don't be afraid. You're going to have risks. And I took a number of risks in my career. I could have been at KPMG, public accounting, a lifer as a partner. Would have been a little boring, but would have been different. But I was willing to go from a bigger organization to a smaller organization. I was willing to take that risk. So think about risks, calculate the risks, but don't be afraid to take risks in your career. Okay, number 5. Brandon will like this one because I'm always talking about it. But use setbacks and disappointments to your advantage. The fact of the matter, in your career, you're going to have some setbacks. That's just a reality. And I can tell you in my career, when I went from Wise Technology, company again in the middle 80s, I was laid off. I was without a job for 6 months. I'm like, whoa, I'm this big shot and I'm laid off. I don't have a job for 6 months. So I used that period to really re-energize my focus, my goals. You're going to have setbacks. The setbacks don't matter. What matters is, how do you handle those setbacks? How do you use those to recharge yourself? Get over it. All of us are going to have failures. Doesn't matter. Get back into it. Learn. Make it better. There's a famous quote from Winston Churchill. It goes something like, success is going from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. I think there's a lot of wisdom in that quote. There's another quote that's a little different. It's Jonathan Winters, the comedian. He says, I got tired of waiting around for success, so I went ahead without it. So, a little different angle on success. Number 6, be willing to work at small companies. You can learn a lot at working at small companies. Some of the companies I worked at, again, Yahoo, starting with employee number 25, you do everything. And you learn so much in a short period of time. Big companies, at some point in your career, certainly to get the experience, it's very easy to get kind of stifled and not get as much exposure. But be willing to work at small companies. Be willing to take those challenges. Be willing to take those risks. Number 7 is just grab as much responsibility as you can. Again, grab it and run with it. And what I'll say is that I suspect a lot of you in this room tonight have a lot more potential than you're giving yourself credit for. Absolutely. If somebody was to say, Gary, kind of go back in my career and say, Gary, we want you to do all this. What do you think? Yahoo Public and Pyramid Turnaround and all that. I'd be like, whoa, are you kidding? But you can do a lot more than you think. And a real life example happened to me. Again, another turning point, a little story on this one. I was at a company that was already public, Pyramid Technology, about a $300 million public company. And this would have been right around 92. The company had just gone through a restructuring, went from share price of $40 to $6. Not a very good ride. Not a Yahoo-like ride at all. And the CFO, my boss, decides to quit and go to another company. And I was, again, 34 years old, and the CEO of the company comes to me. I have these big eyes, and I'm like, okay, what do you want me to do? He's like, well, here's the deal, okay? We're going to give you 6 months. Here's your opportunity. We'll give you the chance. We're not going to give you the CFO title, but we're going to give you the chance in 6 months to be the CFO, or we're going to boot you out and bring in another person. It's the first time in my career where I go, gulp. wait a minute, let me think about that. I can remember going home and talking to Janice about it, and it only took me overnight before I came back and I said, I want that opportunity. And I grabbed the responsibility, and in the next 6 months, I talked the CEO into doing another restructuring. I went to Wall Street on my own, got beat up. These Wall Street analysts, everything you've heard about them, it's true. They're brutal. They're mean. Anyway, I literally would go into an office and the guy was like, I lost so much money on Pyramid Technology, I'm going to give you 5 minutes, tell me why I should listen to you. And he's looking at his clock. So anyway, I did all that. I went through the 6 months. We became profitable at the end of the 6 months. The stock went from 6 to 36 in the next 6 months, and that's, again, grabbing the responsibility. And it was an amazing period. It just propelled me with an opportunity. The number 8, kind of moving on, talked a little bit about this, and I won't dwell on it, but again, focus on solutions. Whether you're starting a company, what problem are you solving? Whether you're in business and your boss comes to you and with an issue, think about what problem are you solving. Solve problems. Don't get in the way of personalities. It's always solution, solution, solution. You'll hear that in business. And kind of a tangent on that are results, results, results. You'll hear it. I'm telling you, when you get out there in the business world, it'll be solutions, results. You can go to your boss and say, I've had all these problems in getting this done, and your boss is going to say, so what's the solution, and tell me the results. It's interesting to hear about all the stuff you've had to face, but I don't really care. Tell me the results and your solutions. Okay, this is very, very important as well. Okay, kind of write it down. Okay, in thinking about success and companies out there, I've looked at a lot of companies. There are 3 fundamental things that you want to find in a company that as you're thinking about companies, maybe starting a company, joining a company, the 3 fundamental things more, but the 3 core things always exist in successful companies. Number 1, a terrific solution product, duh. Number 2, great people. Check out the people. Very, very important. Bad people don't tend to be successful in business. If they do, they don't tend to be successful very long. Talked to Bernie Ebbers about that one at WorldCom. And the other thing, number 3, and this is easy to miss, but you have to look at the market opportunity. How big of a market? Is this a big market opportunity? Is it a growing market opportunity? Why waste your time at a company addressing a $25 million market? Who cares? It's not big. Not a big deal. So look at the market opportunity. Ask them. So how big is this market and how fast is it growing? So those 3 elements, people, product, market opportunity. Number 10, final thing is stick to your convictions. In your gut, you know what you should do. Stick to those convictions. Believe me, I was tested significantly when I was at Yahoo. I was tested by internal management and external management. In the heydays of 99, 98 especially, people were questioning, why is this Valenzuela guy so conservative? Why is he so conservative? Why does he feel we need to make so much money? Why do we have to be profitable? And I just said, this is the way to run a business. Profitability does matter. Cash does matter. And I'm not going to listen to the Amazons out there, all the other companies out there, because fundamentally, I know the business model hadn't changed. And it wasn't easy. Believe me, I got criticized a lot. I'd even go to big financial conferences where the investors were like, Gary, you're too conservative. We should be taking the money, investing in the business, and making it up on the top line. So I got so frustrated with that, I'd open my presentation with one slide. Profitability matters. And I just shut them up. Okay, that's 10, but I have a bonus one for you, and then we'll get to the Q&A, and I really appreciate everybody's patience. And this is one, and again, it's incredibly important. You've heard the ethics speech. I'm not going to harp on it, but never, never, never compromise your integrity. And I'm going to tell you a true story. This really happened to me. And I'm not making this up. I'm not going to name the company. I'm not going to name the CEO. But I'm going to tell you, if you go into business, the chances are you are going to be tested. Your ethics and morals are going to be tested. My story, I was at a company. It was doing well, little restructuring. Again, I won't mention the name. But we were on a track of public company, exceeding estimates every quarter, so on and so forth. You kind of get on that bandwagon, and your stock goes up every quarter, you exceed estimates. I'm sure all of you have seen this. And we had one quarter. Guess what? Wasn't looking too good. And it was right at the end of the quarter. There was a large transaction, a revenue transaction, and it made all the difference in the world. This revenue transaction would have made the quarter, absolutely. Would have been, another string of successful quarters. The stock would have kept going up. Well, I found out about it because I made sure my organization looked at anything significant, and we very, very much tested everything. Come to find out, this had a number of issues, and from an accounting standpoint, it was not revenue for the current quarter. So I brought it to the CEO and said, we are not taking this as revenue. He said, oh, really, Gary? Well, let me think about it. The next day, he brings in the accounting firm. And the accounting firm, shivering, says, well, Mr. CEO, I think we could position this as revenue. I'm like, over my dead body. This is not revenue. You accounting firm, get out of here. This is not revenue. Anyway, long story short, we didn't take it as revenue. We did our pre-release. As you all know, you've seen them in the news. You do the pre-release as soon as you know you're not going to make the numbers. It's a responsibility to your shareholders. Stock drops significantly. It was ugly. But I knew I was doing the right thing. Sure enough, and again, this is absolutely a true story. A year and a half later, the SEC is knocking on our door. And guess which transaction they're looking at? That one. I'm like, whew! I was happy to see him. I'm like, come on in. And it was like, yeah, no problem. Honestly, this is absolutely true. Even though with all that, they still said, well, we need to do this the right way. So they hauled me up to San Francisco. No handcuffs or anything, It was not like that. It was like, Gary, could you please attend in San Francisco in our enforcement division of the SEC? Now that's pretty scary, So anyway, I went up there and you had this panel of people and all you could see was the mic and their faces were all dark and me. I was it. Anyway, long story short, they questioned the hell out of me. They're trying to understand what was going on. It came down to this one transaction. They interrogated me for 3 hours about all kinds of stuff in this transaction. Everything came out fine, and everything worked out. None of the management team got in trouble. We got a clean bill of health. The shareholder lawsuit was dropped. They just walked away from the shareholder lawsuit that was related to this. The SEC said, everything looks good. That was a month. A month. That investigation was a month before I joined Yahoo. So anyway, it pays to be ethical and moral. Anyway, with that, I thank you again for your patience. I really appreciate it.
You've done good, Charlie Brown. Wonderful.
Okay, let's go to questions.
No, wait a minute.
Oh.
I got to give a lesson here. I get paid to teach, and the dean isn't going to pay me. Learn a couple of things really well. You got a whole bunch of stuff from what he said. Number one, don't go into something unless you're excited about it, unless you're passionate about it. Don't take a job. Take something that's going to turn you on and make you happy. Number two, keep your passions going strong. Number three, look at this guy. Look at this guy. There's nothing different between him and you, except that he's ahead of you, and he had the guts to do it. He believed in himself, and he ran with it. There's no reason why any of you can't do the same thing, and you better. Enough said. Questions? I knew it.
Fred warned me.
I must tell you the background. Eric Valenzuela was my student 6-7 years ago. Comes to every one of these speeches, and he's always the first question. So it's Eric Valenzuela asking Gary Valenzuela.
I really commend your integrity, and I think the difference, between, say, if I would have been an accounting major and what happened with you is the risk. That was the entrepreneurial part of your career.
Right.
But I wish you could talk a little bit more about those days, like 96, 97, when you saw all the things going on, and right now with like Enron and all this Tyco and stuff.
Right.
I think greed is what's happening sometimes.
Exactly.
And I want to know how you were able to stay away from that temptation almost, because now there's even dirty talk of Walmart, unfortunately. And
Yeah.
I think, when I heard that Tyco guy trying to save 100 million, or I don't know, whatever it was,
Right.
for some painting, and it's like sometimes you just have enough money, but you still want
Right.
each penny. Can you talk about
Right.
that?
Yeah, did everybody hear the question first? I hate to answer. So basically a question about how do you deal with the greed factor, and yes, you've heard about Tyco and Walmart, but I mean Walmart is a potential new issue. It's but WorldCom and all that, and so how did I deal with the greed? Is that pretty much the question? Fundamentally, I'd ask myself one question, and I'd encourage all of you to ask yourself one question. How am I going to feel 5-10 years from now if I do that? Explaining that to the SEC, explaining that to my family, who I've embarrassed if I would have done that, explaining it to myself. Ask yourself that question. I think if you ask that question, and it's amazing how many people don't stop to do that, you'll go the right path.
Good. Next question. Okay, madam.
You said that some of your colleagues with the investors had questioned or disagreed with your conservative mind or business practices.
Right.
Specifically relating to you finding profit important. Like, could you tell me a little more about that, and also kind of explain how we might find ourselves in similar situations if we start a company or.
Well, yeah, so I think everybody got, how did I deal with colleagues, the board, outside investors questioning the level of profitability? Keep in mind, at that point, Yahoo gross profit was 90%. Our operating profit was 35 to 40%. Our net income was 20%. These are amazing numbers, right? All you business school potential grads. So these were amazing numbers. Anyway, the way we did this is that we started from the bottom up. We constructed a business model, and we said, this is how much we want to spend on R&D, and this is an appropriate level. So we want to spend, basically 10% on R&D, always double digit, 10 to 12% on R&D. G&A, sorry, but G&A always gets robbed. G&A was always about G&A, general and administrative expenses, overhead was always about 4 or 5%. And sales and marketing, big percentage, right? You really want to invest in the business. So we constructed a business model and we got all the organizations to buy in. And so it was a bottoms up and a top down. Bottoms up being, what do we need to do? What are the detailed projects? Top down, what do we want to spend as a percentage overall in expenses? And is that appropriate? Is that in line with what other competition is doing? And so we constructed this business model, and then we made sure everybody ran the budgets. Even early on in Yahoo, we implemented budgets. So all of you going into business, budgeting is a crucial part. Financial planning and analysis is absolutely crucial. What we did is we instilled an operating discipline, and we did it early. And the other point is that, and you'll find this, be careful. Because if you listen to the R&D guy, he'll want to spend 35% of revenue on R&D. These guys will want to spend as much as they can. But it's like, what's our peer group doing? So define your peer group, companies in your industry, what are they doing? What's a reasonable level of investment that's consistent with our growth and our expected return for our shareholders? And it's a balancing act. As a CFO, you lead this discussion. You are the one who is basically responsible to shareholders. Absolutely. Yes, you're there working for your CEO, but you have a fundamentally responsibility for all those investors who have invested in your company and are expecting a return. So it's a balancing act. Does that kind of answer the question?
Well, and also just kind of like, what were the outside sources you're objecting to as far as your spending? Why would that affect them? Just it affects them because they have shares?
Well, the outside sources were more in terms of the analysts who were questioning whether or not we were too profitable and whether that was sustainable. We knew that was sustainable because we had 2 to 3 years projections out. We didn't disclose those to Wall Street, but we knew what we could do. We were also being very conservative. So any estimates we would talk about with Wall Street, we were very conservative about those. So they actually thought we were spending too much money. I mean, not spending, we were making too much money. Should be spending more and make it up again with a higher top line. Well, our revenue was growing triple-digit percentage every quarter. So, and again, that was an era where people were questioning whether a new environment existed for the what thought to be the business model of profitability, profits matter, and of course by this point, you all know what happened. The dot-com boom went bust, and the companies that were losing money, a lot of those companies went out of business. Yahoo, it had its hiccup, of course, in the stock price, but because of those inherent disciplines that we put in place way early in the business, Yahoo's continued to do extremely well. When I left Yahoo, the company was in amazing financial shape and is today. I mean, I handpicked my successor, Sue Decker, who was just doing a phenomenal job, but I made it too easy for her. We were in great position because, again, we had anticipated that at some point people would care about profits again. And we were right. And I stuck to my conviction on that. Absolutely. I mean, I was looking through my notes, and when I announced that I was leaving, and that was in about April of 2000, there was several analysts out there who were like, well, we're a little nervous because does this mean now Yahoo's going to steer a different course financially? The fact is that getting the company from 300 million IPO valuation to 90 billion was during my period, and a lot of that, I think, was not only our revenue performance, our growth, but doing it in an environment where investors had confidence. They had confidence. They knew we were going to continue to go and build a company profitably and properly and ethically.
We have time for one more question, and I'm going to take the prerogative of asking it. He left Yahoo. Wouldn't you like to maybe know what he's doing today? I think there's a couple little interesting companies you may like to know. What comes with winning? What comes with being a success? The fun you can have.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I will say, it has not helped my golf game at all. So I have to put that out there. That was a vision that didn't quite work out. No, seriously though. No, what I've been able to do, first of all, it's great to give back. It's a wonderful feeling to give back. And I know Fred has had some great entrepreneurs here who've talked just about giving back. It's important. It's a responsibility. And so with wealth, you do get that responsibility. But let me be clear, it's not a burden. It really is a great responsibility. We've been able to do a lot of wonderful things. We took a school, Christine went to a private Catholic high school, didn't have a theater. And we saw the need, and we contributed a lot of money, and they now have probably the best theater of any high school I've ever been to. And we have students coming up to us and saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. And that's amazingly gratifying. Janice has time to work at this in various charities, and she's on an advisory board here. I'm on an advisory board at USC, and the Marshall School of Business.
Some be on here too.
Some connection with Brandon, but anyway, giving back is one thing, but I think you're probably also talking about the ventures. We also, 3 years ago, were able to, with partners, buy the San Jose Sharks. Any hockey fans? Yay. We won't talk about those mighty Ducks or those little Kings. Anyway.
All last year.
It's what?
You played all last year as opposed to the
No.
NHL.
Well, no, we were the NHL, the San Jose Sharks hockey team, yeah. But anyway, so again, here's an example of what we did is we took a franchise in the NHL, National Hockey League, that was losing money, and with my partners, we're making a business out of it. We have board meetings. It's a real business. We're not profitable yet, but I'll be honest about that. But it's fun. It's a sport. I get to combine my financial background, but it allows me to get tickets whenever I want, things like that. But anyway, so I've invested in the San Jose Sharks. I've also got a real estate development company, and I've acquired quite a bit of property in resort, kind of targeted resort areas, baby boomer, retirement. Got quite a bit of property in the Tahoe area. Started to get some property in the Maui area, and love it. Real estate, there's any of you studying real estate know, especially commercial real estate, whatever, real estate investing, doing it properly involves a lot of number crunching. If you do it smart, you can do very well, and we have done very well. So a real estate investment company I have, it's called, you'll understand this if you're a hockey fan, it's called Power Play Properties. Janice, I think, came up with that one. But anyway, so that's pretty fun. And now we're also, again, something totally different. And I make no promises about the success. We're opening a restaurant with some partners in Maui next month. And if it's good, come and see me. If it's not, don't talk to me. Fire Dragon Bistro. But beyond that, I'm also looking at other investments. I play the stock market a lot. I look at various business plans. I'm really excited about Web 2.0, and I think there's some real opportunities there. I've got one investment opportunity I'm looking at right now. I've got some ideas on my own, and you never stop thinking. And once you get those entrepreneurial juices flowing, it's exciting. It's fun. You can do a lot of good. And a lot of you in this room, all of you in this room, with this education, put it to work. Go for it, no limits, make it happen.
No, hold on one second.
I think they want to get to the football game.
I know they do. No,
Yes.
yeah.
Is it about?
You guys have spent an hour with a winner, an absolute winner. Remember what he said here. Remember, this is a man that's no different than any of you guys in many ways. This is a man who did what he knew he can do. You guys go do it, and let's give him one hell of a hand as a winner.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
He'll be up here for a second if anyone wants to come ask him questions or anything like that, okay? Good.